This woman is responsible for a crime so gruesome and unsettling that she's been compared to some of the world's most depraved serial killers. Here are 12 facts about cannibal killer Katherine Knight. Number 12. Early life. Barbara Roughan had 4 sons with her husband, Jack Roughan, before she began an adulterous relationship with Ken Knight, her husband's friend and co-worker. The affair caused a major scandal in the small Australian town of Aberdeen, and Barbara and her lover were forced to move to Moree, New South Wales. None of her sons went with her. Barbara had 4 more children with Ken Knight, including twin girls born in 1955, the younger of whom was Katherine. After Jack Roughan died in 1959, 2 of Barbara's sons moved to New South Wales with her. Ken Knight was an alcoholic and a violent man, and it would seem young Katherine took after him. Former high school classmates described her as a loner and a bully who stood over smaller children. She injured a teacher and assaulted at least one boy from her school with a weapon. Number 11, she was abused as a child. Ken Knight openly used violence and intimidation in his relationship with the family. He would often hit Katherine's mother, blackening her eyes, and rape her up to 10 times a day. Barbara, in turn, often shared intimate details about her sex life with her daughters and often told them how much she hated men and sex. When Katherine told her mother that one of her partners wanted her to take part in a sex act that she didn't want to perform, Barbara's motherly advice was, put up with it and stop complaining. Both parents routinely beat Katherine and her siblings with an electric cord or a dog leash. Katherine claimed to have been sexually abused by different members of her family, although not her father, until she was 11 years old. Although reluctant about the details, psychiatrists accepted her claim, and even members of her family confirmed that the abuse did happen. Number 10. She worked as a butcher. Ken Knight, Katherine's father, was a butcher. When she turned 16, Katherine got what she referred to as her dream job at her local slaughterhouse. She was soon promoted and was given her own set of butcher knives. Wherever she lived, Katherine would hang the knives over her bed because that way, according to her, they would always be nearby in case she needed them. Number 9. History of violence. Katherine Knight's first husband was a man called David Kellett, whom she dominated in every aspect of their particularly violent relationship. Before their marriage, even Knight's mother warned him that his spouse-to-be was dangerous and that she'd kill him if he ever wronged her. On their wedding night, Knight almost strangled Kellett to death because he fell asleep after having sex with her 3 times, an amount she felt was inadequate. While pregnant with their first child, Knight burned all his shoes and clothes and hit him in the head with a frying pan, severely cracking his skull. Fearing for his life, Kellett ran but didn't get too far and later collapsed in a neighbor's house. Knight did all this because Kellett had arrived home late from a darts competition where he'd reached the finals. Knight pleaded with her husband to drop the charges, and he agreed to do so, even though he'd just been treated for a broken skull. Number 8. Knight left her child on the railroad tracks. Unable to cope with his wife's violent and possessive temper any longer, Kellett moved to Queensland and left her for another woman shortly after the birth of their daughter, Melissa Ann, in 1976. The following day, people saw Knight pushing her baby in a stroller down the town's main street. She was purposefully slamming the carriage into the fences that lined the streets while violently slamming it from side to side. Shortly afterwards, Knight was admitted to St. Elmo's Hospital in Tamworth for several weeks after being diagnosed with postnatal depression. When she got out, Katherine took her 2-month-old daughter and left her on the railroad tracks. As the train was due to arrive, she then stole an axe and went into town, where she threatened to kill a number of people. Fortunately, an old man that was foraging near the railway line saw the baby and moved her out of harm's way with little time to spare, thus saving the child's life. Knight was subsequently arrested again and taken to St. Elmo's, from where she checked herself out the next day. Number 7. She was admitted to a psychiatric hospital. A couple of days after she'd abandoned her daughter, Knight was determined to find Kellett, presumably to take revenge on him for leaving her. She got into a woman's car, slashed her face with a knife, and demanded she drive her to Queensland. They stopped at a service station, and the terrified woman managed to escape. But by the time the police arrived on the scene, Knight had already taken a boy hostage, threatening him with a knife. The officers managed to disarm her, but despite the severity of her actions, Knight wasn't taken to jail, but admitted to the Morissette Psychiatric Hospital. Number 6. She killed a puppy. After her marriage ended, Knight got into a relationship with David Saunders in 1986. They had a daughter and moved into a house together in 1988, which Knight decorated with leather jackets, animal skins, horns, skulls, rusty animal traps, pitchforks, rakes, and machetes. No space was left uncovered, including the ceiling. It didn't take long before this relationship became incredibly violent. After a heated argument, she beat him with a clothes iron and stabbed him in the stomach with a pair of scissors. Saunders suffered broken ribs and required a number of stitches. At one point in their relationship, Knight killed his 2-month-old dingo puppy. She took a knife and slit the puppy's throat to show him what would happen if he ever cheated on her. Naturally, their relationship soon ended, with Saunders going into hiding. Number 5. She stabbed her boyfriend to death. John Charles Thomas Price was already a father of 3 when he began a relationship with Knight after his marriage ended in 1988. 2 of his older children were living with him when Knight moved into his house in 1995. Price was aware of his girlfriend's violent temper, but at first, the relationship seemed normal. He was making a lot of money and his children liked Knight. However, her true nature prevailed with fatal results. A series of violent arguments culminated with the murder of John Price on February the 29th, 2000. Earlier that day, Knight had bought new black lingerie and videotaped all her children while making comments. That same day, Price told his co-workers that if he didn't come to work the next day, it would be because his girlfriend had killed him. His co-workers pleaded with him not to go home, but he said he had to for fear that Knight would hurt his children instead. In a dark, ironic twist, he'd even filed a restraining order against her on the morning of his murder. Price went home and that night they had sex. Afterwards, Price fell asleep. He later awoke in terror as Knight was stabbing him repeatedly in the chest. According to blood evidence, he managed to flee the bedroom, leaving a bloody trail behind, with Knight chasing after him. Price reached the front door, but he either stumbled or was dragged back inside, where he bled to death after being stabbed 37 times with a butcher knife. Number 4. She skinned her victim. Her experience butchering animals helped Knight during the next 6 stages of her crime. Several hours after Price died, she skinned his body and hung the skin from a lounge room door. Knight took her boyfriend's skin with such disturbing precision that she managed to keep the entire hide intact, including his genitals, ears, mouth, and hair. After police recovered Price's body, medical officials were able to sew the skin back onto it. Number 3. She cooked her victim's body parts. After skinning his corpse, Katherine Knight decapitated Price and cooked different parts of his body. She served up the meat with gravy, baked potatoes, and various vegetables, and arranged 2 settings at the table, with notes, each having the name of Price's children on it. She was preparing to serve his body parts to his children. A third repulsive meal was found thrown on the back lawn, and it was believed that Knight herself had tried to eat it. His head was found in a pot with vegetables. Knight defiled Price's dead body even further by arranging it with the legs crossed and the left arm draped over a 1.25-litre soft drink bottle. She left a handwritten note on top of a photograph of Price, accusing him of raping her daughter. This accusation was later discovered to be completely groundless. Number 2, she tried to kill herself. A neighbor and one of Price's co-workers sent by his employer to check on him alerted the police after they both noticed blood on the front door. The police broke down the back door and found Knight comatose next to Price's headless body. She had ingested a large quantity of pills in an attempt to kill herself. Number 1. Knight's sentence. Knight was rushed to the hospital, eventually surviving her failed suicide attempt. When she regained consciousness, she said she didn't remember killing, skinning, and decapitating Price, nor did she remember cooking his body parts and attempting to eat them. When presented with the evidence in court, she became hysterical and had to be sedated. 2 psychiatrists diagnosed her with borderline personality disorder, but ultimately deemed her sane. The judge accepted the diagnosis, but claimed it didn't explain the full circumstances of the murder. Knight became the first woman in Australia sentenced to life in prison. She never expressed any remorse for her crime.
Despite extensive plastic surgery that had rendered him almost unrecognizable and a tendency to constantly change his hair, clothes, and general appearance, Geppetto was ultimately captured with the help of voice recognition software.